Hey everybody, it's Peter Dills, Sunday Brunch. We're here 8 o'clock till 9. David's here, and we've got a special guest, Danny Seraphin. He will be in studio. Actually, if you're watching on Facebook, you can see him right behind me in our Go Country 105 studio right here. David's here. We're going to have a good time today. It's a lifestyle show. That's why we just bring in whoever we want to bring in. Heck, we can bring in...
Or whoever will come in.
Whoever will come in this early in the morning.
Yeah, exactly.
I was trying to think of a baseball term, like Mike Trout or somebody like that, but I don't think that will happen because spring training is here. Crazy Dave is here. Same Dave, as we call him. Same Dave is also here. And we're going to have some fun today.
We should put tape down. I get that.
You're on.
It's Peter Dills. It's the Sunday Brunch Report. We're here until 9 o'clock. In about 10 minutes, we're going to be talking to Danny Seraphin. That's why we were playing that fun bumper music. That's called bumper music in the radio business. That's Chicago. I don't know what year that's from, Dave. Do you know? Could you take a guess? I'm going to say...
That's Chicago, too, so that was probably 67, 68, 69, somewhere around there.
Okay, well... I was going to say 71, 72.
Well, but there's been wrong, sir.
There's somebody that probably will know the answer to that question. Exactly, I wonder who that would be. Well, we're going to find out about life on the road.
Mr. Peabody, I wonder who that would be.
That would be Danny Seraphin, and we're going to find out all about country, Chicago on the road.
It's my pleasure to introduce author, Hall of Famer, over 100 million records sold worldwide. 100 million.
120.
120 million. It just got an update.
If you wait after the end of the show.
It'll be
121.
Million.
It's like the stock market.
Danny Seraphin was the founder and legendary drummer of Chicago and played with them several decades. Their music was their music was the soundtrack of my life, for sure. Many of our lives. In many ways, we grew up with them. So, Peter, here's Danny Seraphin.
I mean, we should have some kind of like applause, like we had for the winner of the gift card, Danny Seraphin.
Yeah. It's all in time. Look at that.
I mean, we have a ton of notes that you gave me in front of me, but let's just get right to it. Give us the. I just want to find out like the beginning and to where we are today.
Tell us about. Okay, you were instrumental in putting.
You got a couple days?
Yeah, exactly. Read the book.
There you go.
Yeah, I got a book.
He was very instrumental in putting the band together. I was just kind of interested in that process. How you found these guys? I know you were playing in a band, and Satara was playing in another band, and you were kind of moving around. But how on earth did you convince these guys to all get together and for them to say, "Yeah, this could work"?
Well, it's. I'm going to try to condense it.
Sure.
So Walt Parazater, the woodwinds player, sax player, and Terry, the late Terry Kath, and I were in two bands prior to this band, prior to Chicago, and one of them was a horn band, the very first, and that was the very first band called Jimmy Ford and the Executives. So one of my first, and I was like 15 and a half when I met those guys. It kind of pulled me right off the street because I was in street gangs. I'd quit school. I was heading in a bad direction. So, yeah. To kind of condense it, the second band was called the Missing Links. It was just a cover band, kind of. You see them in clubs, right, in bars, and it was that's the only money making band. It really there was no real sincerity to the music, but we were serious musicians. So Walter, that band had kind of run its course, and it was kind of like not going anywhere. And Terry played bass. He didn't play guitar in both of those bands. He played bass, and he was an amazing bass player. But Walter and I knew what a great guitarist because he'd pull his guitar out and he'd play, and we'd go, wow. And so, anyways, well, Terry had gotten an offer to go to the West Coast with a well-known local band out of Chicago to play bass, right? And Walter was studying. He was about to get his bachelor degree in clarinet at DePaul University in Chicago, and he was being groomed for the second chair of the Chicago Symphony. So I'm looking at, all of a sudden, I'm going to lose my musical soulmates, the guys that, and we'd become like brothers, my big brothers. They were 4 or 5 years older than me, and I thought, damn, that's a drag. I was just starting to really get groove with this whole thing, and we had a great relationship. So, anyways, I talked to Walter and I said, look, I don't want to lose you guys. I mean, we have too much fun with you guys, and you guys mean too much to me. Let's take another shot. Let's take another shot at it. Let's take a big bite out of it. Let's put together an all-star band, a horn band. First of all, it's got to be a horn band, and of all the best players in Chicago. And he said, yeah, he said, let me talk to my wife, because he just got married, right? And he, obviously he did the right thing. You got to talk to your wife, make sure she supports that. And she did. She said, whatever, she's that type of woman. She supported him, and he came back and said, I'm in. And then Terry, so we got Terry, and we said, hey, Terry, I know you want to go to the West Coast. The whole hippie thing was just happening. He couldn't wait to get out there. It was really an amazing time. So
what year was this?
67.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was 1967. So we talked to Terry, and he said, hey, Terry, we told him what we're doing. Why don't you just stay here and play guitar with us? I know you want to go. And he thought about it for probably a minute. He said, okay, I don't want to leave you. He says, okay. And that was a good offer, let me tell you. That was he got the offer was from James William Guercio, who ended up producing all those Chicago albums. He was a big-time producer. He produced the Buckinghams, Kind of a Drag, all those hits, and he produced Chad and Jeremy. So it was a great opportunity that Terry was passing up. So that was the beginning of Chicago, but what ended up being Chicago. So we went out and we found Bobby. His name was Bobby Charles, but his real name was Bobby Lamb, on the South Side, and we had Lee Loughnane was Terry's roommate. He played trumpet, and James Pankow was a schoolmate, was a classmate of Walter's, and Walter was familiar about he said, this guy's a great trombone player. So it was an unusual lineup to have trombone. Was never used in a rock and roll band.
How many guys were in the band at that point?
Six. It was before Peter Cetera. So anyways, we had our first meeting at Walt's house, and we talked about, there's no way, we've all been in bands. We've been messed over. We've been screwed over. This is a band, and if you're going to be in this band, it's your life. It's got to be your life. This is serious. We're not.
But you're only 16 at the time.
No, I was 16 when I met him.
Okay.
Right. I was going on 18.
Okay.
Right.
Still a kid. Still a kid.
So
absolutely.
We agreed that no one would ever get fired, and the only way you would leave this band is if you died, or you left,
shot.
or you. Yeah. It's kind of like the mob.
Yeah.
If you left, if you wanted to leave, or you died. So we shook hands. It was like it was like the Knights of the Round Table. It was around a round table, and we all shook hands, and that was it. We did our first rehearsal in the band. You could just tell it was magical. And 6 months later, so a few months went by, and we played a gig with the best band in Chicago, which was called The Exceptions, and it was Peter Cetera's band. And there was 4 singers in the band like him. That's how good they were.
Wow.
And they could do good vibrations, how the Beach Boys?
Yeah.
And you'd walk into a club and say, oh, it's the jukebox. And you'd look and you go, oh, my God, that's the band. That's how good they were. So that band was falling apart. They were fighting, infighting. I got word of it and pulled Walter aside. We got to grab him. Because, we needed a bass player. Robert played B3 organ with bass pedals. And so pulled Peter, grabbed him. He quit the band. They were going to fire him or whatever. He just quit. And he joined our band, and that was it. Once we got Peter, it was like an all-star team.
But you had mentioned 6 band members. To me, remembering Chicago, there was like 20 guys, weren't there?
No, 7.
7.
And at one point, we added a percussionist. That was 8. So
okay.
You got 6, 7 great players.
It was because you were drinking champagne and you were just seeing doubles of it.
Yeah, I guess all that champagne. Peter.
I remember the Chicago album, but what was the record label you were on back then?
Columbia.
Columbia.
CBS,
okay.
Columbia.
CBS.
Yeah. So, anyways, that was the beginning of the band, and then it just evolved. It was a long evolution. I don't think we have time on the show, but it's in my book. I have a book.
Yeah.
But
Street Player, My Chicago Story.
It's funny that you mentioned the Beach Boys, because in the early 70s, I had Beach Boys, Chicago, and Beatles. Those, and I just
kept. All you needed.
That's all I needed. Beach Boys,
bases.
Chicago, and the Beatles, over and over and over again.
Well, that was one of the first big package tours with Chicago and the Beach Boys, and let me tell you how much fun it was going on the road with Dennis Wilson. Wow. Now, these are stories that I cannot repeat, but man...
Well, that would make good radio if you could.
Yeah, it would make really good radio, but it was really great. We had so much fun and fun playing with them.
Well, that's kind of what we wanted to talk to you about as well, is life on the road with Chicago. I mean, there has to be some really fun stories there, just something that pops out. Maybe we could name a city, and maybe you could tell us a story of that city. San Francisco. Come on, okay. Something that reminds you of San Francisco.
You want a story about San Francisco?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, one of the very first times we played there was we were opening for Janis Joplin, right? and I'll replace the the words with with PG words. Anyway, so I'm sitting on the side of the stage watching Janis Joplin in awe, right? It's because I'm 20 years old or whatever, and she does her show and she's finished, and I'm heading back to the dressing room. You know, she's finished and she's walking behind me, and I'm going slower than she wanted me to go, and she says, "Hey, get the F out of my way," right? And I'm a Chicago Italian guy, and I turned around and said, "F you," right? Who do you think you're talking to?
But you knew who she was, but she didn't know who you were.
No. And I said, "Who are you talking to?" And I used the B word, the B-I, you know. And then one that rhymes with beach, right?
Beach Boys.
And she was like, you know, she was used to everybody, you know, kowtowing to her. And so her guys in the band were looking like they wanted to fight with me. And I looked at them, no, don't think about it. Okay, so they walked around. And later on in the dressing room, she kind of walked up to me and said, you know, I'm not usually like that. I'm really sorry. And I said, I'm sorry I called you a beach ball, you know. And we became really, really good friends. That was the beginning of the evening, right? So that we became, from that point on, we were great friends. But and so she loved our band so much.
What concert hall was that? Do you remember?
Fillmore West.
Fillmore West.
Yes, and so we became, her and I became really, really good friends. And she loved Chicago so much that she fired Big Brother. Said I was right there when she said to her manager, "I want a band like that to be in my band." And then if you look at Janis's subsequent band, it was a horn band. So. Anyways, they were passing juice around, right? Just, hey, they had juice. They're drinking it.
David and I usually do that this morning.
Yeah.
Dave, why didn't you bring any
We got off
juice?
the juice.
But this juice had LSD in it, right?
Oh,
my God. The next thing you know, we're
there
all
we
like,
go.
And Jimmy Pankow and myself end up in a Holiday Inn sign, you know, with the lights.
Yeah.
And we're like beating drums, and we're like, you know, and the police in San Francisco were so used to hippies, and the police pulled up, and we're like, you know, because the lights there was those neon lights. It was crazy. We're inside the sign. Right? We're actually inside, laying there, like, and you wanted a story. You're getting it.
That's right.
So, police come up and said, "You guys okay?" And we look at them like, "Yeah." So that's my San Francisco story.
All right.
Holiday Inn, you can stay at the hotel or in the sign.
Danny Seraphin, founder and legendary drummer for Chicago.
Co-founder's good, though.
Co-founder, yeah. When I saw that, I said, I better say co-founder.
Yeah. Walter and I really
All right, I got a little music in my ears. That means we got to take our last break. But the great thing about Go Country 105 is our breaks don't last that long. It's Peter Dills. It's Go Country Sunday Brunch Report. We found out about the pre-Chicago. Now let's talk about post-Chicago. Where is Danny today?
Well, I always loved the name. You know, remember, we changed the name from Chicago Transit Authority to Chicago, right? We shortened it after the first album. So, deep down, I always loved CTA. I missed that name. I liked it better than Chicago. So, when all this went down and I decided to come back, and I put a band together with Mark Bonilla and Ed Roth and the guys that are in the band now, Tony Grant and Travis Davis, and then, you know, the horn section. Mark looked at me and said, "What do you want to call the band?" And I thought, CTA. He said, won't we get it in trouble? And I thought, how about California Transit Authority?
Genius.
Genius,
Yeah.
absolutely.
My genius just came through right away, but it was dumb luck, believe me. So I did a name search, and not even the city of Chicago had the name registered. So I now own the name CTA.
There you go.
California Transit Authority.
There you go.
Hence, and it's a great band. It's a hybrid. It's people have called us Chicago, like, you sound like Chicago on steroids. It's a great band. Absolutely. It's like for me, I'm 70 years old. It's like I'm driving a 12-cylinder Ferrari Maserati. You know, I'm hanging on for dear life. If you come and see the band, which hopefully you do, you will someday. Promise? Okay.
And where are you playing coming up?
Well, okay.
Dave's pointing to him.
Thanks. I like Dave. Dave keeps me in line. March 10th. All of you that'll be in Florida, it's about an hour and a half drive outside Orlando. We're at the Orange Blossom Opry, and then March 15th, we're in Pasadena at the Rose.
Ooh, I've been to the Rose.
That's a cool place. So come on, there's no excuse. I expect to see you guys there, right?
Front row.
And then March 30th, we're at the Arcadia Performing Arts Center for their gala, their annual gala, right? And then April 12th, we're playing the Canyon in Montclair, and April 20th, the Canyon in Santa Clarita. So there's plenty of opportunities for you all to see CTA.
Okay.
And once you do, you
won't go back.
Now, I wanted you to come. I wanted you to come for full circle. Now I've got to go back. What was the largest stadium that you ever played? Forget about county fairs. Forget about state fairs. But a actual venue like a forum or an amphitheater. What was the largest performance?
There's a couple of them, but one of them was the Atlanta Pop Festival. It was like 150,000 people. Woo. You know, we did one. I've heard that there was 250,000 in Montreal once.
How much does the band get paid for that? Come on.
You know, in those days, ticket prices were $14, $10, $8. So, you know, we might have made $60,000, $50,000.
The music
Today they would be getting millions. Now towards the end, when you know, like during our heyday runs with the band, we would make 150, 200,000. But you know, bands now are just way more than that.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, like you said, though, ticket prices.
Ticket prices are too expensive. You know, it's like everything else, like sports. You know.
Now, I haven't been to the Canyon Club. Obviously, I live in Pasadena. I've been to the Rose many times. That is a very comfortable venue. They've got restaurants all around the area.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my favorite restaurants are around the area. So, yeah, mark your calendars for the Rose because that's a good spot.
Yeah, the Canyon Clubs are great. They're great venues, music listening. And,
now that's the place right off the side of the freeway that has the banner, those banners there all the time with the changes, all the musicians.
Yeah.
Great musicians come through there.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of great bands.
So are you concentrating pretty much in California now? Because you had mentioned some, you mentioned Florida, but now you mentioned Thousand Oaks as your home. So are you primarily a California guy now?
No. We play all over.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know,
They were in Vegas.
We were in Japan last year. We just played the Suncoast Casino in Las Vegas, sold it out, and wherever they'll give us free food and pay us a few bucks is where we'll play.
Sounds
like we're
you're-
musicians. I don't care if it's Sting or some big country. You give us free ribs and some food, we're going to be there.
Ribs, you hear that, Dobbs?
And a place to stay.
Yeah. Well, we better have a place to stay.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, and CTL has a couple albums out.
Oh yeah, we have two CDs. First one's called Full Circle, and the second one's called Sacred Ground. They're both really great. They're the kind of records like Chicago records where they'll sound good in 25 years.
So that was my question that I was kind of getting to during the break. What will we expect when we go see you guys in concert? A little of something new, something.
Well, it's mostly Chicago.
Okay,
but we play the Chicago. Obviously, I played on everything, so it's very authentic. Mm-hmm. But it's also we do add our own touch to it, and so
you said like on Chicago on steroids.
Well, that's what we've been quote. People have said that they remind me of Chicago on steroids, and we do some of our originals and. There's a cover tune or two,
Well,
so.
what do you think? We brought you to a country station. How do you feel?
I feel great. I love country.
This station.
I mean, there's such a rock element in country that I would think that many years ago when a lot of the rockers were exiled to Nashville, what happened when hip hop and rap come in. Not that I hate that music, but that's what happened to us. It cross pollinated into country and. It's the result of it is what you hear today. There's so much great rock and roll, intertwined in country, and vice versa. I mean, there's always been there's always been an element of country. And if you heard that Chicago song, Peter Cetera loved country, so he wrote that song, and with it playing harmonica, and there's steel guitar in there. Music is music. I mean, it is all related.
Right.
It really is, but because of genres and stuff, it needs to be compartmentalized. But it really is. We really do talk and we do talk to one another.
Well, I'm just thinking, as a drummer, you could perform with anybody.
Hopefully,
you wouldn't, but you could.
But no, I could. Yeah, and I when I lived in Colorado for 12 years, I produced a country artist, and I actually learned how to play country from a Nashville guitarist that I used on the session. He worked with me, and and kind of showed me the ropes on country, and it's all related. It's a different approach. It's a different. So as a music, to me, definition of a really great musician is a guy who can play all styles, and I'll play them all really well. And I consider myself a really good musician. At least I'd like to, and that's kind of my goal. It's one of the things that I'm proud of is, as a musician, that I can play country and I can play classical. You know, I can play jazz for sure. People know that, and they know I can play rock. So
And he started on Pots and Pans.
And that's
Pots and
Danny
Pans,
Seraphin.
baby.
Go see Danny Seraphin with his band, CTA, California Transit Authority. And to have Danny in the studio with us at Go Country,
We
whatever
appreciate
type
it
of
very,
music,
very much.
Yeah,
whatever
it's-
type
it's
of
nice
music
to be
you
here.
like,
It's nice to be
Go
here.
Country 105. We're happy to be here every Sunday from 8 to 9. Lori Allen is coming up next. She's going to be playing all the great country classics right here on Go Country 105. It's Peter Dills. We call the show the Sunday Brunch Report until we figure out a better name.
Be good humans. Bye-bye. Wow. Good.
That's so much I wanted to ask.